Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah Peternell. I'm the owner of Family Nutrition Services in Denver, Colorado. Today I'm answering a question about what does Hashimoto's have to do with our ears, including hearing loss, tinnitus, which is like the ringing sound that a person might hear inside of their ears, and also other inner ear related conditions, including Meniere's disease and also the condition of having vertigo. So, maybe it's not surprising to you that Hashimoto's comes with dozens, if not 100 or more symptoms that can't always 100% be identified as being related to the thyroid or being related to Hashimoto's. It's no wonder this is such a complex illness that can be very difficult to diagnose. When I'm working with my clients, one of the things that is true about the stories of a journey to diagnosis for most people is that they go through a series of weird or bizarre, seemingly unconnected symptoms that throws their life into complete chaos, reduces their total quality of life, and leaves them scratching their heads as well as their doctors, looking for answers and trying to figure out what could possibly be at the root cause. One such symptom that's actually quite common among people with hypothyroidism, especially hypothyroidism as a result of having Hashimoto's, are these conditions that are related to the inner ear. So in fact, hypothyroidism causes dysfunction in systems throughout the body, including energy production, which can result in fatigue and lethargy, and also reduction in metabolism, which can cause weight gain. And because our thyroid is responsible for thermoregulation, may also cause things like cold intolerance or maybe poor circulation to the extremities. Well, interestingly enough, there is also a pretty strong connection with the basic sensorineural hearing loss in one or both ears. So don't worry about what I just said. I know that was kind of a complex description, but basically our ears control not only hearing but also some of our senses in like kind of our position in space, right? So our sense of gravity and the way in which we perceive the world around us. Hypothyroidism, as it slows down systems in the body, may actually slow down this involvement of our sensorineural, that's kind of a hard word to say, processes in one or both ears. And in fact, 40% of adults with hypothyroidism may experience this ongoing or in an acute case. There's some research that was published in the Journal of Clinical Diagnostic Research in 2016 that introduces the concept of Meniere's disease as a disorder of the labyrinth of the inner ear and manifestations such as vertigo, tinnitus, sensory neural hearing loss, and an oral fullness of known or unknown origin. However, it is discovered that approximately 67% of the patients that had Meniere's vertigo actually also had hypothyroidism. I can tell you that I have had periods personally as someone with Hashimoto's, sort of an experience of a fullness in the ears as well as resultant balance issues, vertigo, and other conditions like tinnitus from time to time. Well, how are these things related? And if you suffer from these conditions and you are thinking that maybe it has nothing to do with your thyroid, you may want to think again and in fact get a full workup of your thyroid to see if abnormal thyroid values or elevated anti-thyroid antibodies could potentially be causing some of these symptoms. The connections are really interesting. There's actually a link between the thyroid and between the inner ear. It's actually involving electrolytes. It might seem surprising to you. Electrolytes are the essentially mineral compounds or ions that include a whole list of essential minerals and microminerals like sodium and potassium, calcium, chloride, hydrogen, bicarbonate, and so on and so forth. And it is the direct balance of these collective electrolytes to help conduct electricity, essentially, in the inner ear transporters and channels that are controlled by hormones inside the inner ear. Wow, pretty amazing. Did we ever know that the balance of electrolytes and regulation by certain hormones may have something to do with the way that our ears work for us? So, I talked about the balance of electrolytes, and potassium is one of the most abundant electrolytes in the body. And the potassium transporters and channels require a very, very delicate balance in the entire body, and also help to regulate other hormones that enable the pressure and fluid and electrolyte balance in the ears and elsewhere to be correct. So, potassium, certainly we know, can be one thing that may be a deficient mineral in individuals who have Hashimoto's and or hypothyroidism. And this can translate into a variety of other related conditions due to the deficiency of potassium. Research also tells us that in severe hypothyroidism, especially cases where individuals are not yet being treated with synthetic thyroid or hormone replacement medication, those individuals may also be experiencing lower levels of calcium and sodium as well. So combine that with low levels of potassium, and what you basically have is a hypoelectrolyte state in the body. Mechanisms that underlie low electrolyte states can be nearly fatal in some cases. Of course, we know that the electrolytes are essential for maintaining fluid balance in the body and for maintaining like brain function, heart rhythm, thyroid function, our balance, nervous system. There's so many things related to these essential minerals. So the inner workings of the inner ear as it pertains to electrolytes can be a corresponding symptom and a similar deficiency pattern of what types of minerals would ultimately be affecting low thyroid function. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've heard me talk about nutrient deficiencies as one of the root causes for why people develop autoimmune thyroiditis. Well, we can talk forever about the depletion of our soils and monocrop culture farming. We can talk about the processing and manufacturing of our foods, which leads to long shelf lives, poor nutrient quality, huge footprints when we're talking about getting our food from really anywhere in the world with import and export, and just the global availability of food because we live in a very connected world. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for our bodies to be able to get a pint of organic blueberries from Chile in South America in the middle of winter if you live in the northern hemisphere. Maybe not a good idea. Those expensive blueberries may not contain all of the vitamins and minerals that you think that it does. So even if you are adhering to a pretty strict whole foods based, health supportive, and organic diet, it may still be lacking in some of the nutrients that your body needs. So deficiencies in particular to the electrolyte minerals can be one of the reasons why this balance in our body starts to shift and may affect our thyroid as well as affecting our inner ear. Now, these electrolytes, again, part of what controls the inner ear transporters and channels of these ions, they're controlled by hormones. So another way in which inner ear problems are connected to the thyroid is because people with thyroid dysfunction often have other hormonal imbalances in their body. Not surprising when you think about it. You've been watching some of my videos, perhaps about adrenal function and stress. Or you've been watching my other videos about reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Wait a minute, do these have anything to do with our inner ear? Amazingly, yes. So the hormones that help to control the way in which the inner ear uses electrolytes are hormones produced by the adrenals, including aldosterone and cortisol. Also, other hormones, like thyroid hormone in and of itself, thyroxine, free T3, these hormones can also affect the way that our inner ear uses electrolytes. Estrogen also plays a role, and so does another hormone called vasopressin. You may not have heard of that term before. Vasopressin is basically a hormone that levels kind of help with the transport of fluids throughout the body, the transport of electrolytes. It helps to maintain a fluid balance in the blood, and it also helps with circulatory pressure. So vasopressin has been linked to Meniere's disease, again, whose characteristics are episodes of vertigo or hearing loss or tinnitus. And in a 2018 study, they concluded that the excess of vasopressin, so too much of it, could be the trigger for Meniere's disease. So, researchers are still linking all of this together. I'm going to have some links to research down in the comments below, so you can check those out if you just like to read what I'm reading as far as research goes. But it doesn't surprise me, especially when we're talking about, hormones. They're so delicately controlled, and they need an environment that doesn't go through any sharp changes or alterations in our body chemistry. And because the hormones of the thyroid control so many different functions in the body, if our bodies are not making enough of T4 and ultimately the conversion to T3, it's no wonder that some of these other systems downstream of thyroid hormone production may start to suffer as well. So what else do I want to tell you about today as far as it relates to hearing issues and inner ear issues? Well, I think the third component, aside from the electrolytes and the hormonal relationships, which is that you've heard me say before, autoimmune conditions kind of run in pairs or groups of 3 or more. Once you have an autoimmune condition, your body is somewhat predisposed to have another one. I know because I have 2, Hashimoto's and celiac disease. And research tells us that autoimmune inner ear diseases, yikes, are secondary to Hashimoto's, and in fact are more likely to be common in individuals who have Hashimoto's. So what is autoimmune inner ear disease anyway? Oh my goodness. Well, it's a medical condition, right? With immunosuppressive reaction of the body targeting cells, tissues, fluids of the inner ear. Our own immune system being very confused or wonky, you've heard me say that before, and not knowing that it shouldn't be attacking this part of the body. So it's not too far from the neck and the thyroid to the inner ear, and if there's elevated, especially TPO antibodies against the thyroid, well, it's not too far from the inner ear, and that immune system may work its way up into this other part of the body and cause some damage there as well. So patients, individuals who live with Hashimoto's thyroiditis are at a higher risk of developing audiological abnormalities compared to the healthy population that don't have a primary autoimmune disease. It's multifactorial, okay? So we know that, again, there's a variety of different things that can ultimately affect it. We talked about electrolytes, hormones, the presence of autoimmune antibodies against tissue, which can turn into secondary or tertiary autoimmune disease. So one of the things that I've found in working with clients in my practice is that as individuals are older, and especially receiving a diagnosis of Hashimoto's later in life, say 40 plus, these are the ones that tend to have kind of these myriad bizarro symptoms that seem like they're somehow connected, but nobody can quite figure out the pattern. So Meniere's disease, I can't tell you the number of clients that I work with in my practice who have this checked on their intake form. Meniere's disease, or tinnitus, or vertigo, or postural orthostatic hypertension, or POTS disease, which is basically kind of a dizziness associated with that inner ear fluid balance. These are things that I see quite commonly, and amazingly, so many of my clients just check those boxes and go, well, I've had that for a long time. I didn't know it was related to my thyroid or to having Hashimoto's. So if this sounds like you, if you're suffering from any of these symptoms or conditions, I do think it's important to circle back with your doctor and have a full thyroid panel workup done, because evidence from research and from clinical studies show that individuals who are properly treated with the correct dose of the right type of thyroid hormone medication, these symptoms can improve. With the proper treatment of the thyroid, in addition to proper diet, meaning helping to heal the gut through food, appropriate food choices, eliminating food intolerances such as gluten and or dairy, avoiding sugar and inflammatory foods like caffeine and alcohol, and sometimes for grains as well. These are steps that an individual can take to really get their body back in balance again. Please remember that with autoimmune disease, it's not just about the thyroid, it's not just about the inner ear. With rheumatoid arthritis, it's not just about the joints. With Crohn's, it isn't just about the gut. All of this is about a wonky immune system that needs rewiring, and it requires a full approach to the lifestyle practices, body, mind, spirit practices, the right food approaches, and proper supplementation when working with someone who's board certified in holistic nutrition, like me, that really helps to get the whole system working properly again to lower anti-thyroid antibodies and to reduce the attack and damage, not just on the thyroid, but on other systems, tissues, cells, and organs elsewhere in your body that may be suffering the damage that's done to the thyroid as well. Remember that we have thyroid hormone receptor sites on cells in every single cell of our body. And it's really important to think about Hashimoto's as a total body condition. Thank you so much for watching my video today, for learning about the ways in which Hashimoto's may affect your ear and all of the inner workings of your inner ear. Stay tuned for more videos. I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.